American Humane Military Dog, brought to you by Canine Courage Program from Zoetis.
When I first met Adak, it was pretty unique. There was a dog without a handler in Afghanistan. They needed somebody to partner with that dog immediately, and got partnered with Adak. What we did was we provided personal security to the protectees of the U.S. State Department and other dignitaries of the United States. One of the bigger incidents that Adak was involved with, he was being handled by KRISTIN, and the Serena Hotel was attacked by a complex terror attack. Adak and a quick reaction force were some of the very first responders on the scene within just minutes.
Adak was a very intelligent dog, and I felt good going into the Serena Hotel with him. He went to clear the place to make sure there were no further bombs. Adak is a hero dog, and I think he deserves anything he can and get.
From the very first day I started to work with him, I wanted to stay with Adak forever.
He would tell me about the dogs that he worked, and he knew this dog was special. He had sent me a picture. He talked about how the dog would sleep in his bed and jump up on the loft. And so it was nice because it wasn't just a working dog, he was a companion.
So there I am, I take this working dog that my wife hardly knows. Now she's responsible for him, and I had to go back to Afghanistan.
I guess I was intimidated at first. You think of a military working dog, you don't think of little kids.
I don't know if he'd ever seen small children before.
But Adak really meshed with the family. He liked to be petted, and he liked to, he liked schmoozing you, so.
Once stateside, Adak had almost a year off without doing any training or any detection work. His goal there was to recover, mentally and just become a traditional American pet. My wife and I started Dogs for Defense Incorporated, and it's a working dog solutions business. And it was our goal to have the dog be approachable, have the handler be approachable. It was quick to see that Adak wanted to work, and he did lots of concerts and special events. Adak enabled us to build a business model that showed that detection dogs don't need to be frightening.
Hey, Dan.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, First time Dan brought Adak in, it was hugs and pets and kisses, and he still had a job to do, but it just seemed like a really nice way for him to still do what he was trained to do and I think what he loved to do in a way where he could slow down and kind of go into his retirement.
Check back.
It's pretty remarkable for a working dog to work 12 years. Our anxiety goes into the dogs, and the dog feels and lives those the same as we do.
12 years for a working dog is pretty good. Even the military, that's why they put a cap on how old the dogs are. Dog gets to be 8 years old, time to retire.
We saw Adak getting older, and Adak began to lose function in his back legs. I had seen this dog, at his prime. I got to work with him, I got to be part of his life, and to get to a point where he couldn't move on his own, and there was no other choice.
We pushed it off as long as we could. That's the hardest thing is, it's like you have to play God, and you have to decide when you're going to, he's gonna die, and we sat on the floor with him and made sure he wasn't in pain. But to see Dan suffering through all that, trying to say goodbye to Adak.
It's difficult to see somebody you love pass, and it was no different with Adak. I absolutely loved him with every part of my body, and it was difficult to say goodbye.
Adak's a hero dog because he saved my life and all the guys on my team. And there was more than one time where because Adak was there, we were able to avoid, that situation.
Adak worked as an explosive detection dog for almost 13 years and had an incredible journey. He did incredibly heroic things over those times, finding explosive devices, finding firearms. But he transitioned from a war dog to a dog that's working in a shopping mall and interacting with children. And that is some of the most heroic things that I saw Adak do.